Hey everybody, welcome back to the tooling series here. We're going to continue working through the tooled chief, and in this video we'll be working on all the floral work up here that creates the headdress in that chief. So if you missed the earlier videos, be sure and go back and check those. We laid out this whole pattern from the start, worked on beveling, got the floral work in his face. So this video here, we'll get this floral work done up here, and then come back to finish up the series by doing all the detail work in the feathers and the headband. Now I'm going out of order from what I typically do. Again, this I think makes it a little bit easier to see as we're tooling through here if I go ahead and background this right now. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Just to help stand things out and make it a little more clear as we're going throughout this pattern. Hello, I appreciate you guys jumping on here. I see a lot of you joining me live. Say good afternoon to those of you here in the same time zone. Good morning in Australia. Carol, I see you on here with us. I do enjoy seeing where everybody's coming from. That's sure a fun part of social media and the internet and all that good stuff, as we can be live with several countries at the same time, and makes it kind of neat. Again, if you're tooling along with me or have attempted this pattern or plan to in the future, please post your pictures in the comments down here, or send them in a message if you don't want them out for everybody to see, but would love to see the work you guys are doing and any projects you put together with here. Good evening from Denmark, England. Oh man, we're getting all over the place. I love it. Need to get a big world map in the shop here so we can start putting some pins on it for all you guys that are joining me on a consistent basis here. Okay. Now, in here, you guys always see me using a bar grounder, but there's other background tools that you can use. So think of that too. If you don't have a set of bar grounders, you can always substitute anywhere that I'm using these bar grounders with the backgrounder of your choice. Hello. Oh, thank you. I appreciate the compliments there. All right, once we get through the background, then we'll get to rolling right along with some of these other details, and all the tools with the final detail work here go pretty quick. So it's not going to be a terribly long video, but we're going to get a lot done in it, and it's going to make a big difference. We'll go from this plain outline to detailed work like down here. If you guys have any questions or comments as we're going, be sure to drop those in the comments. I try to keep an eye and the best I can on screen and see what questions we have coming through, so I can answer those best I can while we're live. Hello, Dan. Appreciate you sharing that out. Yeah, if any of you guys find value in what we're doing here, please share that out. That's the best way we can reach out and try to impact more people with a little bit of positive stuff in their news feed here. All right, quick little double check. I'm gonna just kind of fade a little background right in here around the edge where that's gonna be actually rolling into some feathers there. Same thing there. Just fan that off in the corner there. Oh, Josh ordered a denim jacket and you're going to put this on the back. That's going to be awesome. That'll be very cool. Okay, I'm going to move on from the bar grounder and grab, this is a vertical line thumbprint here. And this is going to bring in our shading. So I'm going to start right down here and just work my way back. Hello, hello. Joining us from Arizona. We're hitting all over the states and around the world today. I love it. This must be a good time catching everybody. Yeah, Josh talking about what he's going to do with his tooled chief when he gets done with it. Put it on the back of a denim jacket. That'll be super cool. Somebody asked me the other day what I was doing with some of these pieces that I'm tooling up, because all the videos we've been doing, I'm actually getting a pretty good stack of stuff sitting in here tooled up, and with not big plans on all of it, so I may have to come up with some ideas. Maybe we'll do a contest giveaway or something and give some of this stuff away for, I know some people just enjoy watching how it's done, so there's people on here that are watching that don't actually tool leather themselves. We may just do some sort of giveaway or contest. That may be kind of fun. What do you guys think? Think that'd be a good way to get rid of some of this stuff? Put it in Hamleys for decoration. There you go. Hello from Missouri. Do I grind down the shoulder on my flower centers? No, I never have messed with any of the flower centers. I've never adjusted any of my flower centers that I have. We'll go through. We got a couple flowers to do here, so we'll walk through those flower centers here in just a little bit. And speaking of flower centers, anytime when I'm running this thumbprint in these flower petals, you'll notice I'm aiming those vertical lines back up towards where that flower center is going to go. And that's going to help your eye kind of pull the flow in with these petals and bring it all together once we start putting our decorative cuts in. Oh, do a share contest, Dan, huh? That you'd be in the running for sure. Dan's thinking we ought to do a share contest where whoever shares these videos the most times gets one of the pieces. I think Dan would definitely be in the running. He's always supporting by sharing these videos. It's not a bad idea. I may have to do that, Dan. Any reason I bevel before I thumbprint? The initial answer would be that's how I learned, but secondary to that, Jackie, the reason being, for one, it's going to be way easier to see what you're doing. That's one thing, is once you start beveling, you can start seeing what things are, where they are, but then also, I don't want to be running things over the edge without having that bevel there. And once it's already beveled, when I run that shader or the thumbprint for this application here, I'll run it right out towards that edge, and when I run it out there, I'm creating that highlighted ridge, and I'm able to do that with there already being the bevel line in there. So if I just mashed it all down and then had to bevel back to it, I don't feel like I'd be able to create quite that same effect there. Same thing, there's another, for instance. I'm running that thumbprint right down into that bevel line where that piece tucks underneath the other one. And that's going to look a little more natural than if I shaded that and then come and bevel. You'd have that crisp bevel line over top of that. So, not saying it's wrong if you did it the other way. I'm sure you can get some neat effects going the other way as well, but that's just why, some of the reasons why I do it in this order. I'm working my way through the pattern here, just with things I can reach from this direction pretty easily, and then I may turn this pattern one time to hit some more of these spots. Do you ever go back and bevel? Yeah, when I bring my bevel out for some other things like my flower centers and things like that, there'll be times when I may go touch up some different lines, especially if anything's been kind of smushed down at all. We'll retouch them up. I think, and that could be an argument too for some people that say, well, I always run my thumbprint first and then bevel, because then I don't have to go back and redo lines, which I think then at some point you would be still having to go back and then touch up on your thumbprint maybe too. So it's kind of a back and forth thing. With any of these tools like this, it's always okay to go back and touch up and just kind of crisp things up as needed. The only thing you don't really want to have to go redo would be cuts, like decorative cuts and things like that. Running your knife back in cuts is not a good practice, because it gets for choppy cuts and all that. Another question. Approximate measurements of my stone. Boy, it's like 2 feet across by 3 feet wide and a couple inches thick. Not that you have to have a stone that big. That's just what this one happens to be. It definitely takes out a lot of the bounce as opposed to a little thin stone. But I've tooled on some of the smaller, 12-inch by 12-inch stones that are just an inch or so thick, and those work just fine as well. They have a little more bounce, and it's not quite as crisp, maybe not as much room for bigger projects, but it works fine for something to get started with, or for working on small projects with. But yeah, I do enjoy this big one that I have. Oh, yes, you guys, thank you. I was just going back, catching some comments there. Yes, this is the #1 vertical line thumbprint that we're shading with here. As you can see, especially in those bigger spots, I run that a lot more like people would run a bevel. I run that and tip it, taking some of that edge off of there so I'm not gouging in, creating a full tool mark, and I'll roll it a bit to soften the edges where we leave a faded line out through there. Try not to leave sharp tool impressions. The most we can, we want to have things fade and look as natural as possible. I mean, how natural can you get with flowers on a cowhide? But you get the idea, right? Touch those off. And you can see in here I ran that shader right down in tight to that top line. This line here where it's folded over, because I want to get that shading coming right out there to really help create that look that it's folded over there. Okay. We got a couple little spots left to go here. And we just about got this shader done, and we'll rock through some of the other detail tools. I'm going to turn that one time here. I was able to reach most everything from where I was at, but I want to get up here. Here the reason I'm turning this is I want to see right on the ridge of this flower petal. Make sure that I can watch right where I'm putting that edge at. You can see I create that little highlighted ridge right along there. If I'm not having my leather turned where I can see that, chances are I can go over that or stay too far away. Now here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create another little highlighted ridge and build this up to a kind of a center point in here. So we got that highlight there, and then brought a kind of a center dome within that petal. Work that one right on down. Now we're going to do the same thing on this last. Petal, dropping that, fading that back down towards our center. Okay, let's turn this back around. There we go. Now, I'm going to go to my little, this is my little homemade kind of lifter and stop there. I'm excited to try Berry King's got a new really small, like a 00 lifter that I want to try in place of this and see what kind of effect it has. So I'll be getting one of those here soon. Jackass, what kind of maul are you using? This one here is a Berry King as well. It's an older one. As far as the weight goes on it, I believe it's maybe a 16 ounce, right in there-ish, give or take a couple ounces. It's probably a 16 or 18 ounce. It's not super heavy. I have a couple bigger ones here for if I was doing a basket stamp or setting my maker's mark or things like that. I can set in there a little heavier. Now, my maker's mark, typically I'll just use this one anyways because I have it at my bench here, but hole punches and things like that. Somebody did ask about the Maker's Mark, and that one is from Steel Stamps Inc. They are, I believe, out of Boise now. But they did a phenomenal job for me on that. Super happy with how that turned out, and it's held up and lasted for quite a while now. You can see I'm using this little lifter just in any of these little ridges where we're bringing that up, highlighting that, and then anywhere we have that I'm putting little stops in, like out here on the side of that stump there. Okay, next thing, I have a small, this is just a really tiny little cedar here that I'm going to drop down in those two flower stems, start help sanding those off, and then move over to my small mule's foot there. This one here, oh Terry, your favorite, awesome. Well, here you get to see it happen right now, watching this this chief get tooled up here. Now the reason I like the single mule's foot as opposed to they make one, I think Barry's got one too, that has like 4 different mule's feet with the smaller sizes tapered down there. It's a cool idea, but I never use mine in a straight line very often. I'm usually always coming around a curve. So like you can see here on this flower stem, if just a straight line, it would shoot me off the side or just not be in line with that stem, where I'm going to start here behind that seed, and I can rotate that around as I go. That one's an even tighter little turn there, so you can see that a little bit. Oh, I got the combo in the different arcs too. Okay, Dan. Yeah, that could be kind of handy there. But yeah, I just really like that freedom of running my single one there. Gives me an opportunity to miss one and come back and get it. But all right, now we got that in place. Let's reach over. I'm gonna grab my Vayner, and this is the scalloped lined Vayner, so it's got the little scallops on the inside, and then super hard to see, but it does actually have lines running up and down it as well. There's just a couple spots I'm going to use that in this pattern. I'm going to come in right at the base of these flower stems. Now I'm really tipping this on both sides because I don't want it to go all the way across. But and you think, well, that's kind of dumb. If you hit that side and that side, why not just lay it down and hit it? Well, by tipping that and getting just out there on that edge, you can see where that helps give that more of a rounded look to it as opposed to just laying it down, hitting it straight down. So I'm going to do that again right here on this one. And then over here on this leaf, I'm going to bring this Vayner right on the inside of that line, following the curve of that leaf as well. Okay. All right, make sure I didn't miss any spots with that. I think we're looking good. We are getting down there. Okay, now here is the same little, I'm going to switch it up. Instead of using just that same little guy, let's use a little bigger one. We'll show you a couple different flower centers in here. I'm going to take this one. This is just a bigger plain center one there. Watch this. We're going to do 2 things to that. Once we get finished here, that's going to touch that off and make them look like completely different flower centers. but I'm gonna come first thing, and instead of my center liner, which is right here, I'll show you how to use that one. I would use that where, let's see where we have enough room at. That concave into it there is going to fit right around your flower centers. And I can get a little bit of shadowing in there. See if I can do one right here closer, give you a little better view. Tip this back towards you. Okay, but things get a little tight when they're crammed together there, and there's not quite enough room for that center in between there. So what I'm going to use is back to my vertical line thumbprint. This is my smaller one. I can get that, tip that right in here. Get our same effect. So you can run that around to bigger areas as well. So if you have one of these thumbprints but don't have a center liner yet, there's a good substitute for you. It's a little more time consuming and you got to be a little more careful with it, but it's doable. Next, we're going to come back to my XX Steep Chequered bevel here. We're going to touch off the edge of these petals and bring them right back down to that flower center again. And just sharpening and crisping up those lines. Oops, try not to knock the camera over. One of these times we're going to get through a video without me hitting the camera on you. I don't know when that's going to be, but I'm going to do it one of these days. Now that those lines are crisped up, I'm going to go back to that same flower center that we hit, and I'm going to crisp those up with one little hit there. What kind of flower do you figure that is? That's a great question, Dan. I'm going to pose that question back to you. What kind of flower do you figure that is? The reason being, because I always like asking people to see what ideas they come up with there. Okay, now that same small cedar that we used over there, watch this. I can pop that right back in the middle of that. It makes a whole different look to it. No clue. Yeah, I couldn't tell you what kind of flower it is either, Dan. It's a Sheridan-inspired flower. That's about all I can say there. Okay, now on this flower center, I'm going to come in just give one little half circle in there. We're going to take our round bevel right like that. So again, it just touches it off, gives something a little bit different to it. There's ways to manipulate some of the different tools and centers that you already have to create different looks to it. Now we have that, we are down to some decorative cuts. So I'm going to come through here. We'll just start right here on our flowers and then work our way out from there. When I do these decorative cuts, I'm starting deep, fading them to light. That flower center, there you go. Kind of see that a little bit closer there. Even with the arc on those, I'm pulling them back towards that center. And that's what's going to help with that flow on them. And if I do a little kind of a whoop-de-whoop out the side there. Gives it a different look, but I'm still drawing that back down to the center. The rubber caps for my swivel knife, where do I get those? Those have came with my knives that I've gotten, both Berry King and Leather Anglers. Where I've gotten my knives, they all come with the caps on them. Okay, now I'm gonna, just from this flower, we're gonna work our way right back around. If you followed the drawing course at all, where we talk about drawing backwards, a lot of times that's kind of how I'll do my decorative cuts as well. So I'll start out there at the extremities and then pull my way back in. Same thing, I'm working back out here and I'm going to start pulling back in towards the vine work here as we go. Now, there's no real definite right or wrongs on these decorative cuts. There's some general rules of where we pull them to, so we keep that flow, but how many and exactly where, it's just going to be stuff to kind of play with. I'm going to put some little cross hatches in here, and that stump is kind of like a little seed pod thing there. I'm going to do that again in this one. See a couple other comments. I've been practicing drawing using your online course. Wonder if you have more videos on how you lay out linear patterns. Are you asking about linear patterns, meaning like a belt pattern and straps and such? Let me know on that if that's what we're asking. We'll kind of go over and talk about that a bit as well. Okay, spin this around just where I have more access here. Keep within frame there. Yeah, Richard, we'll do some more videos on specifically laying out belts. That's a lot of your principles are still going to be the same. You're just so you've been seeing some of the stuff in there, so you're going to kind of understand this a little bit better. But when you're doing your transitions, it's just the same way we transition with a full circle, starting from one and coming back. This one comes around, this one comes around. Well, instead of that maybe coming all the way, maybe it's only a partial one, but you're still going to be pulling things backwards that same way. So, but yeah, we can do a full video on that as well. All right, and one last question is about the burnish. So great timing on that question as we're getting down towards the end here. The burnishing is going to come from your moisture content in your leather. Well, two things. One being good quality leather to start with. Like this, what we're tooling on here is Herman Oak, and in my opinion, it's the best tooling leather that there is. At least that I've had the privilege of tooling on. So if there's any better out there, I just don't know of it. But with that, then your moisture content being right, and how much moisture is in there. So when I wet that down, I'll get it pretty wet to start with, so you get that moisture down in your leather, and then when you're hitting that, it's coming, bringing that burnish up with that moisture on. If it's too dry, you're not going to get the same effect. Too wet, it's going to get mushy, and again, still not get that same effect. So that's going to come a little bit with some feel and some experience on that, and playing with that till you get the difference. But the kind of three things I look at is, one, the sight. You can see the coloring. You'll learn what color your leather is when it's too wet or not wet enough. And then the feel of it when you're actually striking your tools down or running your knife, you'll be able to feel how much give or how much resistance there is. And then also the sound, not so much with your knife, but with your other tools when you're beveling and things, you'll hear the difference between hitting leather that has good moisture content versus leather that's too dry or too wet. So those are kind of three indicators that I look at there. I'm actually working on content for my new tooling online course. Same format as the drawing course, but it'll be all on tooling. And so we've really been working to break that down and how to teach what good moisture content is, without having to go through as much trial and error. So hopefully we'll get that dialed in by the time we get that course released. So have some really good examples and stuff for that in there. But thank you guys for joining me here for the fourth video in this tooling series, part number 4. But we're going to come back with one last video in this series to touch off some detail in our feathers and our headband there and finish this pattern out. So hope you guys have a great day, and we will see you back here for part 5 of this tooling series. Take care.